many council members we have on? I can't see the whole entire screen.
5.
5.
Okay. 6:30, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Hereby call the meeting to order. Do we have the flag, bro?
Yes.
Can we please stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the
to
flag
the flag
of the United
of the
States
United States of America,
to the republic for which
for
it
which
stands,
stands
one nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting was called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. This conference meeting on August 7, 2024 was included in a list of meetings sent to the Union County local source and Star Ledger on July 29, 2024. Copies of the notice were posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and on the Township of Hillside's website. In addition, a copy of the notice has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Councilwoman Bonanno? Here. Councilman Fierstein?
Here.
Councilwoman Hyatt is excused. Councilman Joyner?
here.
Councilwoman Saxton is excused. Council Vice President Rios?
Here.
And Council President Epps?
Here.
Motion, we have quorum.
Thank you. Rob, could you make sure everybody's muted in here?
Yes, everyone is muted.
Can I get a motion for the adoption of meeting, the caucus, a regular meeting June 25th, 2024, and a special meeting July 9th, 2024? Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Any questions on the adoption of minutes?
No.
Alright, seeing none, roll call, bro.
Councilwoman Bonanno? Yes. Councilman Fierstein?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hyatt is excused. Councilwoman Saxton is excused. Councilman Joyner?
Yes.
Council Vice President Rios?
Yes.
And Council President Epps?
Yes.
Motion passes to pass the minutes.
Thank you. Can I get a motion on the payment of bills August 7th, 2024?
Motion.
Can I get a second? Any questions on the payment of bills?
None for me.
Council President, just a quick comment.
Councilman Furstein?
Thank you, sir. There were some items from Remington and Burke that I flagged. I did ask the CFO for some clarity on that. He sent over a report, so I do appreciate that. I'll take a look, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions and concerns from the council members on the payment of bills?
No, sir.
Seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call on the payment of bills.
Councilwoman Bonanno?
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hyatt is excused. Councilman Joyner?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxton is excused. Council Vice President Rios?
Yes.
And Council President Epps?
Yes.
Motion passes to pass the bills list.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to make all items on the agenda tonight action items?
So moved.
Get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ordinance, number 24. Somebody say something? Ordinance number 24-14, an ordinance by the mayor and the council of the Township of Hillside, amending the Township of Hillside Code of Ordinances to repeal Chapter 160, to adopt a new Chapter 160, to adopt flood hazard maps, to designate flood plain, I think that means plan, administrator and providing for severability and an effective date. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any questions from the council members?
Council President Epps Hyatt wanted me to read some questions on the record.
Okay.
She sent through email. Give me 1 second, sorry. So, is it the expectation for the council to add this to tonight's agenda to vote on it, in the absence of both of the engineers and representation from NJDEP, who will be present to specify and identify the changes, because there was a revised email sent to you guys. Define the changes, the expectations, and the impact of these changes to the municipality and individual property owners. Do we collectively believe it to be in the best interest of our township to vote on this without additional information?
Thank you. Are any of the engineers, in fact, on, again, I can't see who's on right now.
Council President, Terry Vogt here from Remington and Vernon Engineers.
Okay.
I was requested to come to the meeting tonight. There was a little bit of confusion. I was dealing with the Public Works Director last week, who I deal with on stormwater matters. I'm doing the MS4 work. And I found out today that he had thought that the discussion was relative to a stormwater ordinance that council has to adopt. I found out today it was floodplain ordinance. The person who worked on the township ordinance unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, but she gave me a little background information. I'm here to try to answer any questions that council may have. If there's anything I can answer tonight, I'll be happy to take it back, and we'll get council answers promptly. A little bit of background.
I'm sorry, sir, before you get started, can you just state your name and again, your titles and everything? I missed that in the beginning.
Yes, sir. My name is Terrence. I go by Terry Vogt, V-O-G-T. I am a principal with Remington and Vernon Engineers. I am an environmental engineer by trade, and I assist many towns, including Hillside, on matters including stormwater and floodplains.
Okay, thank you. Continue. What do you know about this, with your expertise that you do have about this particular ordinance that we're discussing at this time?
Yeah, the ordinance itself is something that the city, or I'm sorry, the township was first contacted in late 2022. This is not just Hillside. This is being requested of all New Jersey municipalities. The Federal Flood Insurance Management Agency, FEMA, is updating its regulations and is going around to various towns to have them update their municipal flood ordinances. I know two towns that I personally represent, Flemington and Lakewood. Flemington's 100 and Lakewood's Ocean. They both had to adopt their ordinances last year. This is something that's been in planning. We were retained by the township to help draft the ordinance based upon FEMA's model, which we did. We provided a copy to NJDEP, which is the protocol. NJDEP is reviewing these ordinances for all municipalities on behalf of FEMA to make sure that they conform. We received positive feedback from NJDEP, which is why the ordinance is now in front of council.
Okay, I have a question for you, sir. This particular ordinance is not, it's not costing us any money or funding, is it?
No, I don't believe it's costing any funding. There is a requirement, as indicated, named in the ordinance. They want municipalities to name floodplain administrators. Floodplain administrators commonly will do reviews of any specific town recommendations. If someone comes in and wants to build or expand on a property in a floodplain, typically an application would be made. The floodplain administrator would do a review. Many municipalities will put a fee schedule in, and Hillside may have that already, I don't know, for someone to look at the application, to look at the building plans and see whether or not it conforms with the current FEMA standards.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the council members?
Council President?
From Councilman Furstein?
Just quickly for the engineer, who would be the floodplain administrator typically? And outside engineer, is that someone in town?
More often than not, that's something that we provide our clients. We have a number of floodplain managers in our company. We can provide the service. If a municipality has their own personnel that are trained or certified in floodplain management, you have to take a course. There's coursework involved in a certification. I know Woodbridge, which I represent, for example, they have a large in-house staff, and they have a certified floodplain administrator who actually does all of Woodbridge's work. But many towns that we represent, they typically go outside. They'll appoint us, or they'll appoint somebody else.
Okay, so we don't have one now. We either have to get one who's licensed or subcontract it out.
Correct.
I'm not capable. And I've dealt with FEMA extensively for flood insurance. That's sort of my forte. I know that they've done a lot of mapping or remapping of the flood zones that have been outdated. I'm assuming, from what I read, I think that's what this is meant to do. So that I just want to explain this a little bit. Tell me if I'm getting this wrong, so that I understand.
Yeah, I think that's substantially correct. What complicates this even more, if you're in the business, you're probably aware of this. NJDEP is doing, for lack of a better term, they're piling on the federal regs. They're making the federal regs even more stringent. But to answer your question, yes, I think that's a big part of this.
So I think to answer the Councilwoman Hyde had mentioned that, like, what's the impact to the residents? What I think this is trying to do, and tell me if I'm wrong, Terry, is that because the flood maps are getting updated, if someone's looking to do, let's just say, a addition on their house or something like that, they want to make sure that if it's in a flood zone, or if it borders or something like that, it's not going to impact the township because someone's going to dig too far or build something that will have an adverse effect to their neighbors or the town at large. So this is really meant that anyone doing construction or work in town has to now go through the proper procedures to make sure that whatever they're going to do, the town or the residents, doesn't have a flood impact to the neighbors. Am I getting it right?
I think that's well said, and certainly you don't want anyone's projects to be impacting adjoining properties or neighbors. The other thing that's important, whether it be a homeowner, a business, whoever, they have to be cognizant that depending upon what floodplain, is it coastal, is it non-coastal, they have to be very careful that when they build, they're choosing the correct finished floor elevations, because there are very strict rules that say that if your floodplain elevation, for argument's sake, is 25, you have to be at least 1 to 2 feet above that 25 elevation, or one, it's not a permanent structure, and equally important, you're not going to get flood insurance.
Right, and in layman's terms, it sounds to me like this is really a safety thing. This is meant to protect the people from changes or updates that have not been updated in a very long time. Thank you.
Correct. It's meant to help people build, to make sure that if you're going to build in a floodplain, that your floor elevations and other features are high enough that they're not going to be adversely impacted.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, Council President. How much of Hillside is in a floodplain?
If I was better prepared for this meeting, I could tell you that. Unfortunately, I don't have that answer.
All right, so we don't know who the administrator is, and we don't know how much of Hillside would be impacted by this as of yet.
Yeah, we can certainly help you get answers to who the township wants to appoint, and we can certainly get an answer as to the approximate area. I would recommend, if you're comfortable with the ordinance itself, to move that forward sooner than later, and get answers on the other information, but I can certainly get back to the town with that information.
All right, and why would we move this sooner than later?
It's been hanging around, truthfully. The original state notice for the ordinance, I was given a copy today. It goes back to November of 2022. So we're coming up on 2 years. I'm not aware of anyone getting antsy on the federal or state level. I typically try to keep people from getting antsy on the federal and state level.
And also, Council President, if I may just chime in, I apologize.
Good, sir.
Jen, just to again remind all council members, this is just an introduction, just to piggyback off of Mr. Vogt. And if I'm pronouncing, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the last name, sir, but just to piggyback off of Mr. Vogt, again, if the council wishes, can move forward. This is just an introduction. Prior to the second reading.
And we can get the information.
Right, prior to the second reading, all information that is being requested could certainly be obtained and provided to council members for consideration before actual voting on the second reading.
I appreciate that, thank you.
I think that's both excellent points, and yes, thank you. You got my name right. Not many people do, by the way.
Council President, just one last question. Mr. Mayor. So this ordinance is just basically laying the groundwork for what the administrator will be doing with the new maps and the plan moving forward. It's just laying what they have to follow, the rules, regulations, and what this new map would entail. Is that what I'm getting at?
I think that's correct. They'll certainly be relying on the most updated information.
Okay, any other questions from the council members? All right, seeing none.
No, I'm fine.
All right, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Banano,
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hyde is excused, Councilman Joyner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxton is excused, Council Vice President Rios, and
Yes.
Council President Epps.
Yes, and to the gentleman that presented, please give us that information for the second reading. We definitely appreciate it so we can move this forward.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Motion passes for ordinance O-2414. And Councilwoman Banano, if you would like to forward those questions to me, and I could forward it to Mr. Terry.
Yes.
Thank you. Resolutions, R24-177, authorize the credit of senior citizen deduction. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Who can give us an explanation on this? CFO Jones, is he here?
Yes, Council President.
Can you possibly give, I know Ms. Smith is out today, can you give us an explanation on this, please?
Yeah, apparently in 2023, there was a senior deduction that we missed. Union County Board of Taxation awarded it. So now we're adjusting this taxpayer's bill for the senior deduction.
Okay. Okay, that's
Council President, one question.
Yes, Lisa.
Do they have to apply for this credit or is it an automatic credit?
Those seniors and veterans have to apply, yes.
You must apply, okay.
Okay. Any other questions from the council members?
Yes. What is the credit for again?
Senior deduction. So it's $250 if you're a senior, you get off of your tax bill.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Banano,
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hyde is excused, Councilman Joyner, Councilwoman Saxon is excused. Council Vice President Rios
Yes.
and Council President Epps.
Yes.
Motion passes for R 24-177.
Thank you. R 24-178, authorizing the refund of premiums for tax sale certificates. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Any questions from council? Glenn, could you give us an explanation on this, please?
Glenn, you're on mute.
My apologies. These are premiums that have been fully paid from the prior year tax sale. And there's a listing on the page following the resolution that lists all of the lien holders.
Any other questions from the council members? Seeing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bonanno,
Yes.
Councilman Feuerstein,
Yes.
Councilwoman High is excused. Councilman Joyner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxon is excused. Council Vice President Rios
Yes.
and Council President Epps.
Yes.
Motion passes for R 24-178.
Thank you. R 24-179, authorizing for refund for exempt property 2024 taxes, block 1418, lot 10. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any questions from council? Glenn, brief explanation on this, please.
Sure, Council President. Taxes and property paid taxes for the first and second quarter of 2024. We're just refunding that tax payment.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bonanno,
Yes.
Councilman Feuerstein,
Yes.
Councilwoman High is excused. Councilman Joyner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxon is excused. Council Vice President Rios
Yes.
and Council President Epps.
Yes.
Motion passes for R 24-179.
Thank you. R 24-180, emergency procurement of repairs to Township of Hillside HVAC unit circuits and the municipal pursuant to NJSA 40-A 11-6. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any questions from council?
Question.
Good. Sorry.
Thank you. Just running, what happened to it? What happened to the HVAC?
This is our ongoing issues with the municipal building. We have a generator sitting out back. Anybody that's been to town hall to keep the police department running. The HVAC units on the roof are not working. The transformers outside have to be replaced. They're 50 years old. They have to be replaced by PSE&G. And we have to get some rewiring done in the building. So this is an ongoing project.
You mentioned PSC&G. Are they doing any of the repair work?
They're only responsible for the transformers outside. Once they fix those, then they'll reconnect to the building and we can get rid of the generator. But we have to do all this work before that can happen.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I think Rob had a question next.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify that this will also, because it mentions the police and the town hall, but this will also take care of the library as well, right? Because their system is.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And this is not the unit itself, right? This is just for the wiring. They're all doing HVAC system, or is this just for the panels?
This is for the units on the roof. I wish I could explain better what they're doing, but they're making it so that we can use the units while we have the generator. And then once we get all the other repairs done, they'll be fully functioning. I guess the best way I can explain it, I guess over the years we've had wiring done in the building. Unfortunately, 20, 30, 40 years, it was never inspected. So everyone knows what the circuit breakers are in their home. So apparently we got too much going to individual circuit breakers. So we have to break those out so that they can not trip.
Okay. And what's the dollar amount that we're budgeting for this repair? You're asking us to approve it, but I don't see a dollar amount.
28,500 is in the resolution, Councilwoman Bernard.
28,500. Oof.
The third paragraph, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Council President, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Glenn, do we anticipate more and more work on this?
Yes, we do. Like I said, it's been years and years of wiring in this building, and unfortunately, I don't have a reason or an explanation for this. We had work done in our own building and we never inspected it. So residents get rewiring done and we go out and inspect that, but we didn't inspect our own.
I was going to say, what you're describing would fail an inspection in a residential home. If you
Exactly. So
is there a study being done either from the engineer or someone in town, maybe our code enforcement, who could tell us what in town we need to be cognizant of for the future so we don't have surprises?
well, we do have an electrical engineer. They're going to come up with a final resolution for this.
Okay.
So that we can be fully functional, because we wanted to get this fixed before the winter time, because, you know, we have those HVAC units on the roof. So we went without air. We don't want to go through the winter without heat. So we need to get this resolved as soon as possible.
Will the electrician look at all buildings or just the municipal building?
Right now it's this building, but, you know, to your point, Councilor Furicine, I suspect that we have 50-year-old transformers all over this town.
That's
Maybe
what I was saying,
some of our other facilities.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So what we're doing now, and I hate to use this terminology, is this just patchwork? Because you got 28,000 in this one, and I think you're anticipating more money. We don't know the estimated total cost of what all this project is going to cost. So is this 28 is covering what? Just the initial beginning of the project?
We paid early this summer just to get the building functioning. This is specifically for the units on the roof to get those functioning. We still have to do wiring throughout the whole building.
How much that cost? The wiring?
I'm still waiting for the electrical engineer to get us a price for that. And that's probably something we have to go out to bid for.
We have no electricians that work for us currently.
We have electrical inspectors. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can do electrical work.
Okay. So who's going to check the work that's being done currently and make sure it's being done correctly so we don't have to revisit whatever's being done now? Who's going to check that? Do we have somebody in town that's going to check the work that's being done now? Is that the engineers? Who is that?
We'll have the engineers and our own guys look at it.
Okay.
So it'll be 2 sets of eyes on it.
Okay.
And this new 250 amp main electrical panel, that's accounting for the current power consumption that'll feed all the building properly, but then also think about the future and leave extra, panel units available for future growth, within especially now if we're thinking about, the police department, expanding once the library leaves from there, right? So is this also accounting for the police department's power needs moving forward?
Well, I think what we also have to look out for is we have a generator. So if there's a power failure, we have a generator that kicks in. The bad part about that is the generator is inside the building. Now, right now, most generators that people buy at home, they are outside the building.
Yeah.
So we have to get our generator out of the building because that's part of the problem. So that just tells you how far back this goes. I'm not sure. I think it's actually a requirement now that your generators be outside of your building and not inside the building.
Yeah. So, CFO Jones, I know this has been explained to you, pretty thoroughly. I think at our next meeting, if you could arrange, I'd like the engineers, whoever's overseeing this project, to kind of give us an explanation as well.
Okay. I'll have the BA do that.
Okay.
I'll make a note of that.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions?
President, I have one question. Glenn, have we
Councilman
looked into any kind of grants or funding or anything for this to assist with this?
We did approach PSENG and they said that Everything outside of the building, they'll handle the transformers, but inside the building is our responsibility.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Right, seeing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Banano,
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein,
Yes.
Councilwoman High is excused, Councilman Joyner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxon is excused, Council Vice President Rio,
Yes.
Council President Epps.
Yes,
Motion passes for R 24-180.
thank you. R 24-181, authorizing the grant acceptance from the Jersey Forest Service Urban and Community Forestry Program for the Leaf and Out Grants Management Program. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions from council?
Just an explanation of what this is. Is this to replace trees?
So, Councilwoman, if you remember, a couple of meetings ago, we approved a $12,500 grant.
Yes.
That's for the education portion of this grant. So this is actually for getting an inventory and tree replacement. So we're gonna.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So we're going to inventory use this grant to inventory the town of all of our trees. And then once that inventory is done, we'll know what's priority. You know, if a tree is dying, that one has to go. What has to be replaced. So we were lucky enough to get this. I know council's been asking about tree grants for years. Well, we finally got one.
Okay, is this for our trees or for trees that are on our residents' property or trees throughout the entire township?
I believe it's trees that are in the right of way in public property, not private property.
Okay. And who will receive the training? So,
Well, we're going to actually hire a professional. We're going to do an RFP for a professional to do the inventory and evaluate the trees.
okay, so it was a two-parter.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that's covered, all this is covered under the grant, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Council, really quick question on this?
Yes, sir.
Glenn, this is a huge grant, which is amazing. It's $850,000. Do you know how much of that gets used for the inspections versus how much the trees will cost?
Well, again, we're going to have to RFP for the professional to take the inventory. So whatever's left, we're going to use for replacement.
So most of the funds will be used for the purchase of trees.
Correct. I don't think it's going to cost us $850,000 to hire somebody to go out and evaluate.
No, I'm saying I don't know if it costs $100,000 and then or does it cost money to remove the? Is this money also to be used for removing the trees in case you have a lot less?
If it's dead, yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
We will try to be judicious on how we use these funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? All right, seeing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Banano,
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein,
Yes.
Councilwoman High is excused, Councilman Joyner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxon is excused, Council Vice President Rios,
Yes.
and Council President Epps.
Yes.
Motion passes for R 24-181.
R 24-182, requesting insertion of special revenue item into the township budget regarding award of funds under the New Jersey Forest Service Urban and Community Forestry Program for the Leave and Out Grants Management Program in the amount of $850,000. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Glenn, can we get an explanation on this, please?
Yeah, so earlier this year we applied for the grant. So the previous resolution, we accepted the grant. This resolution is to insert the grant into the budget that we just adopted.
So this is not additional money going into the budget. This okay. Just making sure.
Wishful thinking, Council President.
Alright, any other questions for council?
But now be Mr. Hardy, they'll be coming up with these programs, right?
No, this is under, public works.
The
For the
tree.
trees?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was skipping ahead, I thought we were at 183, I apologize.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Seeing that, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilwoman Bonanno,
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Hyatt is excused. Councilman Joyner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxon is excused. Council Vice President Rios, and Council President Epps.
Yes.
Motion passes for R 24-182.
R 24-183, authorizing submission of a FY 2025 grant application to the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs for recreational opportunities for individuals with disabilities. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any questions from council? It's for the public. CFO Jones, can you give a brief explanation of this, please?
Yeah, so this is a grant through the DCA, for, recreation for individuals with disabilities. Apparently DCA is pretty flush with cash. If you guys remember, we've been getting, fire grants, park improvement grants. Now there's a disability grant. So, these funds became available and Director Hardy applied for them. And, hopefully we'll receive it. We can provide for our handicapped, residents with some recreation.
That's really great. I love it.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Quick,
Any other questions from council?
Just quickly, Glenn, how much of the 20,000 we have to match up to 20%, right?
20%, yes.
So just in straight math, we're talking about
Like $4,000.
$4,000, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, call Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bonanno,
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hyatt is excused. Councilman Joyner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxon is excused. Vice President Rios,
Yes.
and Council President Epps.
Yes.
Motion passes for R 24-183.
R 24-184, authorizing the mayor and municipal clerk of the municipality of Hillside to execute an agreement with the County of Union to modify the cooperative agreement dated June 10, 2014, as amended July 25th, 2017. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Okay.
Any questions from council?
Yes.
Yeah,
What's
did
this
you-
modifying? Maybe for more detail?
So council members, the county is in charge of all CDBG funding. So any municipality that's eligible or their residents are eligible to receive this funding, the county has to have an agreement with. So apparently we had an agreement done in 2014, it was modified in 2017. So we're modifying again according to what the county is requiring. So this specific CDBG grant is ESG for emergency shelter grant. So our residents, if they have shelter problems, they can go and apply to the county for these funds to get a shelter.
Glenn, I'm not following. Can you explain what's the modification portion? What are we modifying?
Unfortunately, there's no attachment to this.
Yeah, I didn't see exactly, but you say that one more time. So if people have a problem with housing, they can apply to the county?
For this specific grant, yes. So the county has all CDBG funding, not just for emergency service grants, but any other CDBG program.
Does the township have to pay when someone applies?
No. The county funds it fully.
No.
But in order for the county to share the wealth with the municipalities, we all have to agree to the shared service agreement.
Thank you.
Or cooperative agreement, I'm sorry.
Would this also apply to families that are displaced due to like fires and other issues like that?
I think that's more along the lines of FEMA.
Okay.
No, it'll provide emergency shelter in the case of what happened on Conan Street and they needed them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking in my head, yeah.
Yeah, it should, for the moment, until the FEMA can get involved.
Any other questions from council? I seeing none, roll call, madam.
Councilwoman Bonanno,
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hyde is excused, Councilman Joyner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxton is excused, Vice President Rios,
Yes.
Council President Epps.
Yes.
Motion passes for R 24-184.
R 24-185, authorizing a jurisdictional agreement between the Township of Hillside and the State of New Jersey Department of Transportation for Route 22 Broad Street overpass. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions from council?
Yes, I don't understand this at all. I've looked at the map. I don't know why we would take that responsibility on. Is there an engineer or somebody that's familiar with this?
If I'm not mistaken, the township attorney could probably explain this better.
Okay.
But you remember the little parcel of land that the state wanted to purchase, but they were modifying Floyd Street?
Yes.
I believe this is the final resolution that's needed to cap that deal off.
Attorney Martellus, can you expound on that explanation, please?
Yeah, so that's, and I don't really have much more to add to what CFO Jones said. This is just the final piece to complete the project or the deal that we had worked out.
So for us to have that deal, we had to agree to take on the responsibility of maintaining that small parcel after it was
Correct.
developed.
Correct.
So they're purchasing and then we're maintaining? Is that what I'm getting at?
Correct.
So is that plowing? Is that mostly snow? Or is that, because there's no, is there grass there? I would assume that they want us to take on the responsibility of removing snow. I may be wrong, I'm not.
I don't believe it's, I'm sorry, Attorney Martellus.
Go ahead, Glenn.
I don't believe it's actually on the road. I think it's like a little patch of land. You probably can't even fit a car on it. I don't think it's really too much for us to worry about.
Okay.
But it wasn't in the roadway. It was like, oh, they just needed an easement off to the side to do the construction.
Okay.
CFO Jones, can you just point on the map on the next page where we're talking about?
I believe it's where the line is there. You see where the road is coming down? And there's like a little U that's uneven.
Rob, can you share your, I don't know if it's, do you want to share a screen and show, maybe I'm missing it.
I mean, yeah, technically I can. Hold on 1 second.
I just, if the patch of land in between the roads, then that's one thing. I just wasn't sure if it's related to.
That's what I'm looking at, the patch between, so there's Route 22, and I can't read the name of that road. There's something at Long Avenue. So there's a little patch of land there.
So this land
Is now ours.
yeah.
Well, they paid us for it, but we're just gonna, I believe if it's grassy, we should just dig it up so we don't have to worry about it.
Can I ask a silly question? If we don't approve this, then they have to take care of it?
Or is that built in our sale?
Yeah, did we get our, I'll have to check to see if we got our $15,000, but you know, it'd be nice to have that because this little plot of land is only assessed at $500, so it's not really, you can't build on it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from council? I seeing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Bonanno,
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein,
Yes.
Councilwoman High is excused. Councilman Joyner?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxton is excused. Vice President Rios?
Yes.
And Council President Epps?
Yes.
Motion passes for R 24-185.
R 24-186, designating block 604, lots 25 and 26, as shown on the tax map of the Township of Hillside, a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Blaine, can we get an explanation on this, please?
Yeah, there was a request made earlier by Councilman Feuerstein. I did forward the study. I didn't have enough time to familiarize myself with it.
Council President?
But this is the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Council Vice
No,
President.
I'll just add to that. There is also a member from the planning board, I believe, on this meeting to talk about this resolution and the one right after.
Who's on it? Who's on it for the planning board?
Where are they?
I can't see this, the gallery.
Council President, my name is Rob Rebecca, and I'm the Special Redevelopment Counsel for the Township. I've been working with administration, and I'd be happy to give the backdrop of where this resolution has come from and the work that's led up to it, and what the council is being asked to consider this evening.
Yes, please.
As I said, I'm Robert Beckman. I'm an attorney with Williams, Goldman and Spitzer. In April of 2023, the council adopted a resolution requesting the investigation of a possible redevelopment area designation of Block 604, lots 25, 26, and 27. And that's when I became involved in working with administration to undertake that study. After the resolution was adopted, and just to give some backdrop too, when you have a property like you've seen at 1350 Liberty Avenue that has been vacant and becoming more problematic and no sign of development potential happening in the future, it's exactly the kind of property you start to look at for redevelopment and consider. Redevelopment offers the township greatly enhanced zoning powers and control and oversight of what will be developed at the property, working in partnership with potential redeveloper, redevelopment agreements where you can have, again, more direct oversight and control of what gets developed, how it gets developed, when it gets developed, potential public amenities or contributions that may make sense, financial assistance and tax incentives to the developer, and what we'll talk about in a few minutes, possibly the power of condemnation to acquire properties in the redevelopment area. So the initial resolution from the council did specify, as the statute requires, one or the other, that you would be seeking to reserve the power of condemnation, or you're not going to use the power of condemnation. This had begun as a condemnation redevelopment area, so the council would have the power of condemnation if they choose to keep it and proceed with that process and adopt what would actually be the last resolution on. So I'll state that the two resolutions that you have on, it wouldn't be both of those that would be adopted, it would be one or the other. If the council decides that they don't feel they need to reserve the power of condemnation, they would adopt the first resolution. If they feel they do need to reserve the power of condemnation, it would be the second resolution. So the board retained Shamrock Enterprises, a professional planning firm, to undertake the redevelopment investigation of the properties and prepare a study. That study was prepared in July, just this last month of July, and it came away with a recommendation for a redevelopment designation of only lots 25 and 26, not lot 27. They felt that the comprehensive properties of lot 25 and 26, which is 1350 Liberty Avenue and the old Squib facility property, that at this time just those should be qualified as a redevelopment area. There was a hearing as required by statute on proper notice before the planning board on July 24th, I believe. During that meeting, Mr. Ed Colling, who is on this call, and he was one of the planners who worked on the study, he and his partner Kevin O'Brien gave a thorough report to the planning board, answered all of their questions about the properties and the redevelopment study that they undertook, and their recommendation that it be designated as a redevelopment area. Again, just lots 25 and 26. And as I said, Mr. Ed Colling I noticed is on this call if there were any questions of the council directly for the planners who undertook this study. So as a result of that hearing, the planning board did adopt a resolution. I'm sorry, I should specify also, I see on this call or as a representative of the owner of the property, Mr. Frank Puddle, and his attorney, Reginald Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins had submitted a letter to the board in advance of the hearing, expressing the owner's support for the redevelopment designation. However, emphasizing they did not feel that this council should reserve the power of condemnation because they are a ready, willing, and able developer who would be happy to work with the town and would share its vision in redeveloping this property. And Mr. Jenkins also made a point of noting that the conditions leading to the blighted conditions of the property were not the doings of his client, the current owner, but it's been a long period of time. And in fact, that since taking ownership, they've made good efforts to really try to keep the property in as good a condition as possible and deal with vandalism and things that are happening on the property since they've taken ownership. And Mr. Huddle also spoke to reiterate those comments and that sentiment, that he's an experienced developer and he's ready to work with the town to do something with the property to address its conditions should it proceed to adopt a redevelopment plan for the property. This is the first step. Before the plan can be adopted, you would have to designate it as a redevelopment area. So there was a report prepared by the planning board that was provided to council that set forth in more detail everything that I just covered, specifically why the planners found that the property met the redevelopment criteria, the comments from Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Huddle as to requesting that no condemnation power be reserved. And in fact, the planning board's specific recommendation to the council was that it be designated as a non-condemnation redevelopment area. So that is where we are tonight. And it's now before the council to proceed it has the power to do what it will with the planning board's recommendation. You're not under an obligation to adopt the redevelopment area, but this is why we went through the process to get to this point, to do so that the redevelopment plan could then be adopted to address the blighted conditions of the property. And the two choices are, as I said, there's the designation with non-condemnation redevelopment area based on the recommendation of the planning board and the comments from the owner and his attorney, or to preserve the power of condemnation. I will comment that typically the reason that condemnation power has been included as a potential power in redevelopment areas is usually absentee owners or collectives of different owners who are not taking care of properties. And it seems like it may be problematic to get any kind of action taken to address blighted conditions. So from my perspective and my experience, if you have a willing and capable owner of the property, it may make sense to not really want to reserve that power. With that, I can answer any questions that are specific, and maybe, I don't know if the owner or his attorney, if you want to hear from them.
You did mention lot 27. I'm looking at lots 25 and 26. So is 27 involved in this particular as well?
No, because the planners did not find that it currently meets the blighted condition that would be required for it to be included in the redevelopment area. It's not part of this recommendation, even though it was in the initial referral from the council. The recommendation from the board is not to include it in this redevelopment area.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
More so just high level. If you can, Mr. Eckelman, can you just go through condemnation and non-condemnation and kind of high level what that means? I mean, I believe condemnation would be more so like eminent domain.
Yeah.
Mistake.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So, right, this would be the way. So in the way that the statute lays out the process, redevelopment has historically always come with the power of condemnation. And it's been very controversial over the years. This led to some cases and going up to the Supreme Court, even the United States Supreme Court, in the use of eminent domain to acquire properties through condemnation. So in New Jersey, we amended the statute to set up two possible paths to allow for you to proceed with redevelopment with all of the powers of redevelopment except condemnation. The purpose being recognizing that often just even having the power of condemnation has sidelined a lot of redevelopment, led to a lot of litigation. Naturally, property owners don't like to hear that they're subject to condemnation. So it tended to cause a lot more challenges. And so we, as I said, we started the process as a condemnation redevelopment area. Substantively, there's no difference. You're still going to have to make the same findings. It didn't affect the planner's report, and it didn't affect the planner's findings. So if you choose to not have the power of condemnation, you're free to do so. And the only thing that changes would be the notice that gets sent of the adoption of this resolution.
Any other questions from the council?
I just have one question. You said earlier, you said the next resolution has something to do with this also, right?
Right, so I had taken the liberty of drafting 2 forms of resolution. So it would be one or the other, not both of them. I see that they're both listed on the agenda. So item number 10 is if you choose to adopt a non-condemnation redevelopment area. Item number 11 would be if you chose to adopt a condemnation redevelopment area. So you wouldn't adopt both, it would just be one or the other.
Okay.
So if this one gets adopted, I'm sorry, Darryl. If this one gets adopted, there's no need to do 11 then, correct?
Right, then 11 would be moved.
Right, so are you explaining, so you did explain both the difference between the non and the, okay.
That's right. Quick question. Just to make sure I understand this correctly, though, from the township's perspective and for their protection, this property has been neglected for a long time before this developer purchased it. How do we? You mentioned that the developer's ready to work on this and get it going as soon as possible. How do we protect ourselves that for some reason this doesn't sit there for a while longer?
So there are ways to do that. Was there somebody else? I'm sorry. So condemnation would certainly be a very strong way to do that. There are other ways that you could, where I expect we will require a specific redevelopment agreement, which will have a specific time schedule and project schedule. So because they'll have to enter an agreement with the township, we can build in some protections.
Okay, thank you.
And we could essentially tell them they don't have the right to develop the property unless we reach the agreement on how that's going to be done.
And that will protect us from having other developers come in, buy blighted properties, and then benefit by having a relationship with the township. I mean, I don't want developers coming in, buying these properties, and then all of a sudden now we're going to develop them and they think they've made a fast buck.
Well, that's another benefit of redevelopment. We actually, the redevelopment agreements will have provisions about once we're comfortable and we've had, when we did the study and we're on the property, the owner was very facilitative of our planners getting on the property and working to do the study. And we've had some preliminary discussions about what kind of concepts they might bring to the table. So when you have that, and if we could reach the level of comfort to say, let's have a redevelopment agreement, we could start limiting their ability to transfer the property while they're under that agreement. So if we reach the agreement and if they were to now turn and say, well, now we're just going to sell this project to another developer, we can actually prevent that and say you cannot sell it with those rights.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
Yeah, so just to clarify, because I see the resolution attached, so it is the planning board's, I guess what they voted on to recommend, their recommendation was for non-condemnation, right? And if this approves, then it goes back to the planning board to work on that redevelopment plan, in which then goes back to council.
And in fact, to expedite that matter, I might recommend that you tweak the resolution, whichever one you choose to adopt, to actually add just a clause to say that you are directing the board, or you can retain the planner yourself. Shamrock Enterprises did a nice job with the study, and if you wanted to just proceed with them again, they've indicated their ability to go ahead and start working on a plan. You could just add a provision to the current resolution to then authorize that plan to start process.
Then we do that outside vendor, right?
Typically, yes. And like I said, I did like the work that Shamrock provided, and they've indicated they were able to undertake the plan, the creation of the plan as well.
Is our attorney Gross here?
Yes, Council Vice President.
Is there something you feel that we need to amend in this resolution, or should we just read it in as?
It's written.
The amendment that you just discussed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes.
Huffman's recommendation of appointing
Yes.
that board. You feel like we should?
Yes.
How would it read? Do we say as amended to proceed to the planning board? How do you want us to change it?
So I would defer to council on the actual wording.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Beckerman?
Oh, I'm sorry. So there's two technical ways it could proceed. The council could just add the statement that it's now authorizing Shamrock, or it's just authorizing the planning board. You could either have the planning board undertake the preparation, or the council could maintain directly preparing the redevelopment plan. Either way, it will go back before the planning board. If the planning board is directed to actually create the redevelopment plan, they will do so, and then it'll come to the council to be adopted by ordinance. If the council itself retains the oversight of the plan being prepared, it will be referred to the planning board. It's going to be a joint process either way.
Yeah, I like for the planning board to maintain the initial control of it, and then it come back to us for the adoption.
Right, then you would just have the resolution say, after we are hereby designating the redevelopment area and authorizing the planning board to prepare a redevelopment plan.
Okay. Attorney Martels, is that good? We could just say as amended that way?
Yes.
We vote yes as amended.
Yes, as
Yes,
amended.
that's amended, correct.
Okay.
All right, all the council members understand the amendment, or you have any questions on the amendment?
Good.
Good,
No
okay.
questions.
No question, all right. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bernardo,
Yes as amended.
Councilman Fierstein,
Yes, as amended?
Councilwoman High is excused, Councilman Joyner,
Yes, as amended.
Councilwoman Saxon is excused, Vice President Rios,
Yes, as amended.
and Council President Epps.
Yes, as amended, and Brooke, you have the terminology down for the record?
Council President, if I may.
Attorney Martellus?
Can we, Council Beckerman, can we rely on you to get the correct wording on the amendment to us with the revised resolution?
Yes, you can.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And just to be clear, of the vote that has just taken place, was that just on the amendment? Or was
No, it was the resolution with the amendment.
So, okay, I think we need to be specific which resolution we're adopting. I believe it was already.
Non-condemnation.
The first one that was read in, which was R24-186.
Okay,
Right. We're not gonna read 187, because we don't need it at this time.
We don't need it.
so
All right, I guess we can read it and vote it down. Councilman Beckerman? I mean, Councilman Beckerman, my apologies. Yeah, I think we read it in, because it's on the agenda, I think we read it in and vote it down.
Okay. All right. Where were we at, Brooke?
So, R24-186 was passed, so now we are on 187.
R24-187, designated block 604, lots 25 and 26, as shown in the tax map on the township of Hillside, a condemnation redevelopment area. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Get a second? All right. Okay, I don't believe there's any questions at this time. We know we have to vote this down. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilwoman Bernardo,
No.
Councilman Fierstein,
No.
Councilwoman High is excused, Councilman Joyner,
No.
Councilwoman Saxon is excused, Vice President Rios,
No.
Council President Epps.
No.
Motion passes for
No.
Motion fails for R 24-187, I'm sorry.
Thank you, bro.
No.
All right, at this time, we are going, I'm sorry, before we go into that, does any other matters need to do it before we go into public comments? Not on the agenda?
Yep.
That's the first thing?
Right, Councilman Gonzalez, can I do the walk on now for the gentleman?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Just quickly by way of background, there is a resident who would like to have a block party September 1st, and procedurally, the council would need 30-day notice ahead of time, as well as all the documentation received from police and fire and other approvals. Given the time frame of our meetings, there will not be a chance, if we don't approve this tonight, for this resident to have a block party in September, as our next meeting is September 3rd. So what I've asked, as this resident has reached out for help, is that we pass the ability for this person to have a permit for the block party, subject to or on condition that the police and fire approve it afterwards. So it's just a way to help a resident who has already paid for and planned on this party. The timing didn't work out exactly, so we don't want to penalize that person. We discussed this with our attorney, and if there are any other comments from the attorney, please let me know. But the motion tonight is to allow this to pass subject to all the other documentation coming afterwards.
You have a motion, can we get a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Any questions from the council?
Council President, if I may.
Attorney Matillis?
So I just want to make the record clear with respect to Councilman Fierstein's comment. So I did look at it initially. So the email did come to me requesting whether or not the resolution could be passed subject to any other conditions. I initially did indicate that it could not, because I wasn't certainly comfortable with setting this precedent. But after I did review the application itself, and just so we're clear, we're dealing with our township ordinance, dealing with permits and neighborhood block parties, section 291-6.1. It indicates that as long as, in some substance, as long as an application is submitted to the township clerk 30 days prior to the scheduled date, that is an opportunity for the permit to be issued, as long as other conditions have been met. When I did speak with the clerk and I did review the actual application, it was submitted within 30 days, more than 30 days of the scheduled or the planned date for the block party. So, and again, as long as all the other conditions are met, we would not have an opportunity, as Councilman Fierstein stated, for the council to meet to approve the permit. So I am comfortable, based upon the way our ordinance reads, that council can in fact go ahead and approve the application subject to all the other conditions listed in the ordinance, which would include review by the Township Police Department, as well as the Township Fire Department, and any other department that needs to weigh in as to whether or not there should be any issues with respect to the proposed block party. Now, the only thing that needs to be, and I'll specify this when we do draft the resolution, should council vote in the affirmative, the only thing that needs to certainly be spelled out and needs to be relayed to the resident. Normally, there would be an appeal process should the council vote it down, or should the permit not issue for whatever reasons. Again, since we're doing it subject to the approval of the police department and other agencies, there would be an appeal process that would entitle the resident to come back to the township council. In this situation, there would not be that opportunity to appeal prior to the proposed date of September 1st. So that needs to be spelled out to the resident. The appeal process is certainly available to the resident without question, just would not be available unless a special meeting were to be called at the council's discretion. So I just wanted to put that on the record, make sure that the governing body is fully aware of the circumstances. But again, in light of the fact that the application was submitted well before the stated deadline in the ordinance, I'm comfortable with going forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the council? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call on this, please.
Councilwoman Bonanno,
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein,
So, yes.
Councilwoman High is excused, Councilman Joyner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sexton is excused, Vice President Rios,
Yes.
and Council President Ed.
Yes,
Motion passes for the resolution of the block party.
thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Montellis, for helping with this. This was very helpful to the resident and much appreciated.
You're welcome, Councilman, anytime.
All right, any other things, anything else need to be walked on prior to opening public comments?
Yes, Council President, I'd like to walk on an ordinance.
Councilman Rios?
Thank you. So I'd like to walk on ordinance amending the Township Hillside Township Code, Article 3, Chapter 4, Section 4-3.2, C7. And this is for the revised general ordinances of the Township of Hillside establishing a Veterans Advisory Council. This was brought prior and looked over by Attorney Montellis. He approved everything, and then now I'm moving it forward.
Okay.
Rob, just a quick question. This is to make a veteran council?
Correct, yeah, because right now, we currently don't have an active.
One second, Rob.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
The motion, we need a second, then we do discussion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, Dave, go to your question, please.
Sorry, yeah. I think I got it. This is to make a veteran council.
Correct, because it's currently not active yet.
Okay.
Any other questions from the council? Lisa, I think you have one?
Oh, no, I just voted yes.
Oh, all right. Any other questions from the council?
No.
All right, seeing none, roll call, Madam Clerk, on the walk on for this?
Councilwoman Bonanno,
Yes.
Councilman Fierstein,
Yes.
Councilwoman High is excused, Councilman Joyner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Saxton is excused, Vice President Rios,
Yes.
Council President Ed.
Yes.
Motion passes for the ordinance, for the Veterans Council Committee.
Yes.
Thank you, council members, appreciate it.
Thank you. Anything from the council that needs to be walked on? All right. At this time, I'll make a motion to open up the floor for public comments.
I'll move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, at this time, the floor is open for public comment. Brooke, do you have anything to read before we open up the floor?
You gotta do all in favor.
I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Brooke?
I don't see anybody with their hands up.
Any emails? I think that's what he was saying.
Oh, no emails.
Advise the public to use the show hand feature. And if they can't use the show hand feature, have them actually visually do this so we can see. I can't see the gallery, so.
We have Dean Davis on. Can you please, Deneen, I'm sorry. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Deneen Davis, 478 Cognac Street. This is really informative, and my computer just went out. I had a question. For Resolution 24-177, the credit for senior deductions, how will the seniors know to apply for it, and what is the minimum age for a senior? And my second question is, with the resolution about the emergency services, I think that's 184.
Mm-hmm.
Again, how will people know that the township is collaborating with the county for them to go get those resources? And I'm done.
The first question,
Are you going to object?
For the seniors,
Yeah.
they're going back for that credit for senior deduction.
Are you at the meeting?
could somebody?
Sorry, that was, yeah, I'm there,
CFO Jones, can you, I think the first question you can handle?
How would the seniors know to apply for it, and what's the minimum age that constitutes a senior?
Yes, Ms. 1 second, Ms. Davis. CFO Jones?
Yeah, anyone over 65, and it's on the state DCA website, but the best way to apply is to go directly to the tax collector.
And the second,
I will add real quick, Council President. I also believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Council President, but I believe Ms. Mary Dawkins can help out as well, just provide information and some guidance as far as this taxpayer goes.
Ms. Dawkins, this time?
Yes, that is, hello? Hi, yes, good evening. Yes, that's correct. If they reach out to Sonia Wingate in the tax office, she can direct it, the resident as to how to apply for both the senior and the veterans discount.
Okay. I'm sorry. Davis. Was it Ms. Davis was talking, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you just repeat your second question? Did I answer your first question, ma'am?
Yeah, it answers my first question. It was the same thing about, people who need emergency funds, like, how do the residents know that there's a collaboration with the county that they can go, to the agency?
Okay. So did we address both your questions at this time?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Davis.
We have Anaya Parks. Can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Anaya Parks, 1514 Highland Avenue, Hillside, New Jersey, 07205. So I just have a question.
Ms. Parks, can you, yes, if possible, can you activate your video?
Right now I'm kind of sick, so.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead.
Thank you. So first and foremost, I'm just asking a question as to the last previous special meeting about the increase of taxes. First, why is it at 12 o'clock and not at a different time where other residents can join the call because people are at work? Second, I just want to know the last time Hillside had a tax increase other than 6.2%. And third, thank you for finally paving my road.
Okay. In reference to the special meeting that was held yesterday? Or day before yesterday? Monday. So we initially was going to have it on Tuesday, which we found out was National Night Out. Then the Finance Committee chair wanted to hold out a separate meeting for that particular, for the budgeting, for the Finance Committee budgeting this the whole budget process, because he knew this as you know, this caucus is our work meeting. So to have to have it at a special time, especially it was a special meeting, and we did properly advertise it. And we've had meetings at that time before. So the finance chair, Rod Rios, wanted to have it separately so more people could in fact get on the meeting and talk about this whole process. In fact, we probably had more people on that Zoom call than we had on Monday than we ever had on a Zoom call. So a lot of people, it was well attended, in fact. So that's why I was called at 12 o'clock, but I'll let Councilman Rios further explain as to why he wanted to have it on 12 o'clock on Monday as well. But I felt as though it was well attended, that particular meeting. Councilman Rios, you want to add anything to that?
No, it was well said. For the reasons you stated, it was well attended, and it felt to have it independent to the council meeting so it can get its full attention was. And to your point, Council President, we've had meetings at 12 and 1 prior, so it was just kind of following the same outline for special meetings.
What was the second question? I forgot that fast.
My second question was, when was the last time Hillside Township had an increase in taxes other than 6.2%? When was the last time that Hillside had an increase in the taxes?
Senator Jones, this question might be for you.
Oh, you're mute.
Council President, we had a tax increase last year, was 1.9%.
So how do you go from 1.9% to 6.2?
If you want, I could give you a 10-year history and explain how surplus has been overused instead of taxes being gradually increased.
What do you mean by 10-year history? Is it a brief 10-year history, or do you want to?
Well,
That's today.
right.
Well, going back to 2014, in 2015, taxes were reduced by 0.062%. 2016, they were reduced by 1.7%. 2017, reduced by 2.1%. so on and so forth. So, but going,
So why are taxes being reduced and not increased?
that was prior to this administration, but as you know, taxes go up in every town. The average for New Jersey last year was 3.3% across the board.
So why don't we do that?
Yeah, I don't have explanations why it wasn't done, but since this administration has been here, we've been attempting to right the boat. Yeah, I wish I could explain why, going back 10 years ago.
No, I get it. So previous administration reduced taxes instead of increasing it gradually, let's say 2%, 3%, but this year is a 6.2% increase. That doesn't make sense.
Well, over that 10-year period, between 2014 and 2023, taxes net only increased $270,000. Meanwhile, our expenses were going up by millions, and we were overusing surplus.
Right. So overusing surplus, you're increasing taxes, but what's being done to the township? Nothing.
Well, I wouldn't agree with that, man. That,
I've been living here for 26 years.
What was the last question in this part?
When was the last time something was built in Hillside besides this tax increase? Something that was brought to Hillside? Nothing. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other hands, bro?
We have Mr. Kovitz. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Arthur Kovitz, 327 Trinity Place, Hillside, New Jersey. So if I heard that right, Glenn, according to our CFO, going back, our taxes were going down every year. This administration took over in 17 and our taxes have been going up. Something doesn't seem right. It was going down by previous administrations. This one, it's out of control. Because like you said, it was down 14, down 15, down 16. I believe the mayor took over in 17. How did those taxes go up so much in those couple of years
Just for
in charge?
Mr. Kovitz, just for clarification, 2017 taxes went down 2.1%, and 2019 it went down 1.99%. So there were years that council, when they took over that budget, actually reduced the taxes. So, when you reduce and inflation goes up and contracts go up and, there's stuff that the township doesn't account for, eventually it catches up. So there were years under this administration where the tax increase did go down.
According to you, 2 years. You just said it. You skipped 18, so it must have went up.
Yeah, well, you were asking for the years that went down. So I could read it for you here.
No, I don't need to read it to you. I don't need you to read it. I understand it. It just, according to Glenn, they went down before this administration took over. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Kovitz.
Any other hands, bro?
No, sir.
I get a motion to close public comments.
Motion.
I get a second. Get a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any correspondence to be read, bro?
No, sir.
Communications, can I get a motion to adjourn? I get a second?
Motion.
You want to second that, Joyner?
Yeah, he's...
Second by Joyner. All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
All in favor again?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody have a great evening. Thanks everybody for coming out this evening.
Thank you.
You know, on the racial side.